Welcome back to the Alternative Highs podcast, the #1 podcast in Southwestern Ontario. That is just a fact. Quick PSA for everybody. 40% of you that are watching are not subscribed. It is a very simple thing to do. Just hit that subscribe button. And with that, on with the show. Today's guest has the most wild highlight reel yet. Signed right out of high school. First Canadian to throw a no-hitter for Team Canada. Played pro overseas. Now running the baseball team here in Chatham. General manager and co-owner. Harry Muir. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
It's a
great space. And I'm the first one, I guess?
Yeah, you are. This was really cool of you to drive down here and sit with me.
Yeah, it worked out great. We had our Christmas party last night in January.
Yeah.
This worked out wonderful for us.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming here. Harry, I want to know, because nobody really understands, like, your highlight reel's cool, but nobody knows what it takes. I want to know how hard was it.
It's the $1 million question these days. Lots of kids ask me that. Yeah.
Right out of high school.
Yeah.
You signed with the Jays organization. What was that like?
Well, that was a dream come true. You know, like growing up in London, Jays fan since they started in 1977, so I was born a Jays fan.
Yeah.
And then I had a lot of success young, like, as you mentioned. I made Team Ontario. I almost missed the tryout.
Yeah.
Because I loved baseball, but I wasn't really into. My dad wasn't he didn't push hard, right? So It was kind of just out there having fun. And I got a call at 10 o'clock on Friday night from our convener saying, "You're going to the Ontario team tryout tomorrow, right?" And I'm like, I haven't even heard about this. This was way before the internet, right? So my dad wasn't in. We weren't in that loop, and then so I said, "Yeah, sure." Right? When and where, right? So it was at Labatt Park, and I showed up and did well in that tryout and just kept making each tryout after that. I think there were four full tryouts. The final tryout, I got to Niagara Falls and I forgot my cleats. So that was embarrassing. So my dad had to drove across the border to the to New York, Niagara Falls, New York, and bought me cleats so I could try. So I was, I was a bit sketchy back then. But yeah, I did real well. I made the Ontario team. We went to Trois-Rivières, Quebec for the Nationals. Luckily, we won there. We won the whole thing. So that was my first national national championship. And from back then, it was a weird process because Team Canada runs much differently now, thanks to Greg Hamilton, who's been a godsend for baseball in Canada. Back then, they chose Team Canada from that tournament. So all the provinces showed up, and at the end, Team Canada would go on to the field, and they would I think they invited 30 kids to do a tryout. My name got called, which was mind-blowing. That was my goal back then. I had a friend, Derek Brando. So I went to high school in London and South Secondary School. I had a good friend, Derek Brando, who was a couple years older than me, and he was a ball player. And he was completely different than me. He was about strikeouts. He was about stats. He was about everything. He knew it. It just seemed like he was night and day ahead of me, right, in that kind of category. So then he got a scholarship to Oklahoma State, but he had played on Team Canada. So I thought, okay, the only way to get to the States was to make Team Canada and then follow kind of his path. Right? So when I made Team Canada, I'm like, this is all working out great. I'm on path. I'm on the right direction. But yeah, like you said, I went there. I threw the first no-hitter in international competition ever, which I didn't even know about until I think 6 years ago. Yeah. I got a call from one of the guys in Baseball Canada, and because they had just thrown a no-hitter, but it was a combined. So somebody else had thrown a no-hitter, and everybody was asking, has this ever been done before? And Greg Hamilton, who was my coach in France, which we'll get to later, he's now the director of baseball at Baseball Canada. And he said, well, Harry Muir threw one back in 1990. So they called me to check to see if it was true. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, well, do you realize you're the first one ever? I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm like, no, I didn't know. And so that was a big accomplishment later. I found out later that was such a big accomplishment, right? I knew it was a good, it was a big deal when I did it, but yeah, it was an even bigger deal for Canada, right? So that was exciting. So because I did so well there, I had a lot of opportunities coming out of that tournament. I pitched so that no-hitter was against France, which was not a powerhouse by any means. But what that showed the coaches was that I listened and that I was coachable. So then I got the opportunity to pitch against the U.S. Okay. And that was that's what I wanted. That was the real challenge. How good am I facing? So I got to pitch against the U.S. in the medal round. Yeah, I don't know if I stuck it up their ass. Yeah, I pitched 6 and 2/3 inning. I gave up 1 earned run. When I got pulled out of the game, we were winning 2-1.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was my catapult. The French game was good, but that was the game that kind of showed everybody that, hey, this kid's not bad.
Yeah.
Showed me that, I can compete with these guys. It was my first real challenge, and it was pretty exciting. We ended up losing that game, I think 5-3. So I almost got the win, but unfortunately, the bullpen didn't do their job. So yeah, when I got home from that, the phone calls were just endless. Like schools. So what the U.S. does is part of their program back then was they promoted all their kids, right? So they did videos, and then they would send them off to schools. Yep. And because I pitched against them, my video was technically going with it all. So I had tons of D1 big school offers. So it was just like, from this kid, like all of a sudden I went from nothing kind of thing to like pro teams calling me. Feeling. Yeah, like from September to March. I don't know if I touched a book. I was done high school.
It must have been hard getting through doors after that. When you get those phone calls, unless you're level, I'd be so.
Yeah, my parents raised me well, so I was a good level kid.
I was gonna say, I read you were very coachable, very well put together.
Yeah, and I think that was a product of my parents for sure. Yeah. I certainly can't take the credit for that. But yeah, it was pretty exciting. Like every day, I would get home, my dad's like, "Oh, you got another letter. Oh, you got another phone call." So yeah, it was tough to focus on.
Thing for a dad though too.
Yeah, it was. My dad's passed away now a couple years ago, but yeah, it's so he's missed a couple things that I wish he was really around for. But yeah, I'm sure it was like if this was happening to my son right now, yeah, it would be pretty cool.
Since you brought up your son,
yeah.
I gotta ask you something because I happen to notice his name is he named after a very specific ball player?
Absolutely, yeah. He's named after Nolan Ryan.
Yeah.
My daughter's name is Shay. So yeah, it's a bit of a baseball moniker.
I was looking you up and I was reading. Yeah. I seen Nolan. I was like, I'm gonna ask.
Absolutely, yeah. Nolan Ryan was my idol for sure. The longevity, everything about him was kind of his work ethic. Like if you see me pitch, not so much maybe, yeah, like the video, I guess probably my second year, I kind of mimicked my mechanics after him. Like growing up in Canada back in the 90s, or playing baseball in the 90s, not growing up, I grew up in the 80s, whatever. Yeah. There was no baseball coaching, right? So that was what happened kind of between Ontario. So making the Ontario team, like, if I could show you, I had no mechanics. I just had a good arm.
Yep.
Because one thing my dad did was we played catch like every day.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, like he would come. He was a bus driver back then, so he would get bus routes around the house. He would park the bus, jump kind of in our backyard. We'd throw a 15-minute kind of thing, like at a lunch break. We'd throw in the backyard, and he'd go back to work kind of thing. One day, I sent him back to work with a broken foot and a black eye. And he had to get on the bus. I was certainly like 14 or 15. I think it was probably like 14. I just figured out this curveball, and it was getting kind of nasty, and he just didn't have the reaction. And I hit him in the toe, broke his toe.
Oh, shit.
And then another one went off his glove, hit him in the eye. So he's like, "We're done." And I think that's the last time he caught me, to be honest, because he just couldn't. I was just getting too good. But yeah, he had to go back to work with a broken toe and a bloody eye.
Right out of high school, put a pin. How does that work with signing into the Jays organization?
Yeah. So what was going on right now? So back then in 1990, Canada. So there's now you're probably familiar with the draft.
Yep.
Well, before March 5th, 1990, Canada was not in the draft.
Okay.
So we were all free agents.
Okay.
So any team could talk to me at that point. So now with the draft, you can't talk to anybody until the draft. You can talk, like you can talk to them, but not there's rules. There's a lot more rules. Yeah. Back then there was no rule. It was like I could talk to any team about anything at any given time. So there were about 5 teams following me back then: Montreal, Kansas City, I think Toronto, and I can't remember the other 2 teams. But the national team really liked me because I was a track star back then. I ran track and field. Yeah, I ran hurdles.
So you got some wheels behind you, not only doing an arm, but you got wheels too.
Yeah, which helps baseball. Like I try to push all my kids to track and field because it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I love track. I ran winter track. I ran summer track. I think it really was if I didn't run track, I probably wouldn't have been thrown as hard as I did. And it made me coachable and athletic and stuff like that. I played volleyball and basketball as well because back then you could do anything you wanted.
Yeah.
Right? Like I played 30 games in the summer of baseball, right?
Yeah.
There was no winter indoor workouts. There was nothing. So, I'd play volleyball in the fall, basketball in the winter, spring track, and then right into baseball. So by the time I got to baseball, I was in fantastic shape, right? And then it was just kind of, for 5 years I did that. That was my training.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great training. So back to the draft. So because I was still a free agent, everybody was talking to a lot of Canadians coming up to the draft because they didn't have to waste a draft spot. If they signed us before March 5th, they wouldn't have to waste a spot on us in the draft. So a lot of Canadians got signed. I signed like March 3rd, and then March 5th, the draft came, so they had till like kind of 4th at midnight to sign people. So a lot of guys went on a sprint across Canada to get the top Canadians, and I was one of them.
That's awesome.
Toronto had never talked to me up to that point, ever. Like, I knew about Montreal, I knew about Kansas City. Kansas City really liked me a lot because I could run and I could hit as well as a pitcher. A lot of national teams liked me because pitchers had to hit back then. But then Saturday, let's say like mid-afternoon, my parents got a call from Toronto saying, we're coming through town. Can we meet with you Sunday? And I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like Toronto?
Yeah, right.
But I still hadn't really considered, like, was I good enough to sign? Nobody had ever really said, hey, we want to sign you. And they were just talking to me a lot. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm still going to school.
Yeah.
Right. I think at that point I had decided to go to BC. So I wanted to be a pilot back then.
Cool.
So the schools in the U.S. were great and the offers were great. But when you go to school in the U.S., you're there for baseball. And they would send me these programs, like with all the courses. But then they would highlight what they, with your schedule and with the travel and stuff like that. These are the courses we think you should take. Right.
Yep.
And it was like safety and power tools, music appreciation. These are not degree course. You're not there for school. What they're really saying is you're not there for school. Yeah. I can't come out and say that, but I know guys like, for instance, Derek who went to Oklahoma. He was there for 3 years and just got a certificate that said he was there for 3 years. It looks just like a degree, but it wasn't. Okay. So when he was done baseball, he had to go back and get a degree, and none of the courses that he took were useless. So the only thing I wanted to be was a pilot. Like there was this isn't going to help me, right? Yeah. So I was going to the BC. When you make the national team. Back then, you got a scholarship to any school in BC. It was an effort to keep Canadians in Canada. So I chose. So they hooked me up with a flight school, and I was going to go out there play baseball at UBC, but go to flight school at some other school, and become a pilot. So that was kind of my plan. But then when Toronto came, they offered me a contract. This was a whole different ball game. This is a whole different ball game. Yeah, right. Good. So good. Yeah, it threw me a curveball. So they spent, I think, 6 hours with us. My mom made lunch and stuff like that. And then, we signed the contract that day.
Thank God.
So that was a huge day.
You're freaking goosebumps.
I know. I went to school Monday morning.
Yeah, with a contract.
Yeah. They're like, I showed up late because I couldn't sleep all night because I was so excited. Yeah. And I remember sitting in the cafeteria. I wish I remembered the friend I told first, and I wish I can't remember who I told first, to be honest. But I was like, yeah. So I just I signed with the Jays yesterday. And I can't say what they said, but like my mate, right? And they're like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, no, seriously. So then he spread the word. Yeah. And then I think I was in English class at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Announcement came on the radio. Sorry to interrupt class, but we have a huge announcement, and they announced it, and that was the end. Yeah. Yeah. After that, I was kingpin.
Yeah, I bet you were. What a feeling that.
So that was. Yeah.
So what happens after that now?
So that was March 5th. Pretty much dropped out of high school after that. So June they have a mini camp. So because I signed in March, right? I would go to like this mini camp in June, which is like a mini spring training, and then you would go to like a short season team. So like a June, July, August team. So it's called short season A ball or something like that. So St. Catharines had a team, Medicine Hat, Alberta had a team, and then there was a new team formed in Gulf Coast in Florida called the Gulf Coast League. So out of the signings, and then the draft was in June back then. So any draftees in June would get signed to like a short season team. So they said, you'll report around June 14th, right? And then like I couldn't focus on school. So by the time I think May came around, I'm like, can I come early? So they're like, yeah, sure. When do you want to come? I'm like, can I come June 1st? So they sent me a ticket. I reported to camp 2 weeks early, which was great. Yeah. Kind of got my feet wet a little bit. But yeah, that was putting the jersey on for the first time was.
Can't even imagine.
No, it's pretty cool.
Thank you to JM Fry Furniture and Design for hooking us up with these beautiful chairs for our new set. Amazing quality, super comfortable, and clearly built to last. You can find them at 264 King Street West here in Chatham or online at jmfryfurniture.com. Going back to the London majors, what happened there? We briefly were talking about Tacoma, and I know nothing about it, and I'm always interested about that comeback story.
Yeah, well, so when I said earlier that I wasn't too excited about being a manager for CK. I was supposed to manage the London Majors. So I'd been a pitching coach for a number of years, and they were looking for a manager, so I volunteered to manage. And coming up to that opening day, I was throwing batting practice, and I just stepped out. There's an L screen, so as a pitcher, you throw behind the screen so you don't get killed. And I never was comfortable behind those because I'd pitched so long without them that it was hard to transition to behind the screen. Yeah. So I was always risking my life a bit because I was always not really behind it. And this guy hit this shot back at me, and it hit me just below the calf. And I didn't think much of it. You get hit all the time, and I was in construction. I'd hit my hand. I hurt myself daily, so I just blew it off, kept pitching. But a couple of days later, I started to not feel right. I was at practice again. I'm like, Roop, who was the owner, I was like, I gotta go home. I just don't feel right. He's like, what? You never. I'm like, I know, but I'm like, I wouldn't go if I didn't feel. Yeah. And within 48 hours, I felt like death. Yeah. Like I literally felt like. Yeah, I don't know. I can't even describe it. I just felt so horrible. Yeah. And that's not even the right word, but there's no other better word. And so my wife called my dad. My dad came to get me, took me to the hospital, and I'm walking from the van to the triage, and I'm hanging on to things. I just took every ounce of effort to get in there, and I'm hanging on to the telephone booth, the telephone on the wall, just waiting for the triage chair to open. And I sat down, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And then that was my triage. She went in and said, God. I could hear her say, "I have somebody out there who needs a bed." And then I don't remember her coming back. I don't remember walking into the thing. I don't remember the next 4 hours at all. But I had a conversation with my dad. I had a conversation with my wife on the phone. Said they're just going to do some tests, see if I'm okay. But no recollection. And about midnight, I kind of woke up. Yeah. It was like all of a sudden I had this clarity, and I'm lying on a gurney. I'm completely naked, and I was surrounded by nurses and doctors, and I could just see the panic. And I looked at this nurse, and I'm like, "Can you call my wife?" And she's like, just the way she looked at me, she's like, "Oh my gosh, your wife's not here?" I'm like, "I don't think so." I had this feeling that she wasn't right, so I gave her my phone number, and then she came back. And she said, "Your sister's coming over to take care of the kids," because we had a 6-month and a 2-year-old. Yeah. My son was 2, my daughter was 6 months old. Yeah. And she's like, your sister's on the way, she's going to take care of the kids, and your wife will be here shortly. And then that was it. That's all I remember. Yeah. So then I was in a coma for 18 days. I had massive organ failure. When I showed up, my kidneys weren't working anymore. My lungs quickly failed after that. Liver. So the only organ that hadn't stopped was my heart at that point. So for the next 3 days, I was crashing. Yeah. And they were like, they read my last rites twice.
Was it from a blood clot?
So I had sepsis. I contracted sepsis. Yeah. Didn't know why. Nobody knew what was. They didn't even know I had sepsis at this moment. Yeah. But it was about 12 years ago when I read an article on the internet. So I was still trying to figure out what happened. Yeah. And this English doctor. So England is leading the world in sepsis and toxic shock syndrome. Any procedures are coming out of England. So now it's kind of if you don't know what it is, check for sepsis. Yeah. That's kind of what they do. So being in London and the best hospitals in the world, they kind of figured it out. Wow. But they still didn't know. There was no treatment for it. There's no take this and right. So I was bleeding internally. Yeah. Because everything was just I had blood groupings. My blood stopped. Your body stops sending blood to your extremities to save your core. So I was black to my knees, black to my elbows. So on day 12, they were going to cut my right hand off and my left foot because they were worried about gangrene. So my mom fought. So they didn't at that moment, but they were still talking about it. They're like, well, if it gets any worse, he'll lose more, right? Because I hadn't had any blood to my feet and my hands for almost 2 weeks. So I read this article in England, and it talked about blunt force trauma to the lower calf causes sepsis. And I'm like, you kidding? That baseball nearly killed me? That's right? Wild. Yeah, so I have a scar just below my calf. It's kind of I want to get maybe a tattoo with a bullseye or something, right? So that baseball almost killed me. Did you eat the baseball? I didn't know at the time, right? So 18 days later, so what they discovered, somebody had read an article about this drug in the U.S. that was kind of an experimental that coagulated your blood that helps stop internal bleeding. It was $50,000 per dose, and you can take it up to this, but it could also kill you because it's so toxic. So they were like, well, we got to try something because he's dying. Yeah. He's literally dying on the table. Just shutting down. And we had nothing they did was stopping it, right? Yeah. So I think it was day 13 or 14 that they tried this drug. On day 16 or 17, there was a little bit of pink showing on my knee, which meant the black was receding.
Yeah.
It was the first sign that, it was going the other way.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of got excited. They woke me up on like the 18th day kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's when I found out what
was
happened.
going on in life.
Yeah, that I almost never got to know my kids. It was a bit of a mind meld, yeah. But then 12 days later, I walked out. I had no, yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, so, I reverted back to my baseball training. I'm like, I had a lot of time because I couldn't move. Like, so in 18 days, so I went in at like 240 pounds, right? I had framed houses.
Yeah.
I was big, strong, much bigger and stronger than I am now.
Yeah.
And when you're in a coma, it eats all your protein, it eats all your muscle. Yeah. So I was down to 198. So I lost 42 pounds in 18 days of a coma, but it was all muscle. Like my skin, like I looked like a little old man. Like my knees were, I was 200 pounds, but it was just, all muscle. So I couldn't even open a can. I couldn't feed myself.
Yeah.
Because my hands weren't strong enough to hold the fork. Like it was just, I didn't believe it. Right.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't,
Were you having a hard time walking?
I couldn't walk. Like they're like, okay, we don't know. I had a fever of 104 or 108. Like they're like, we don't know if your brain's fried. Like they didn't know nothing. But yeah, I wasn't strong enough to even sit up. Like I was like, I don't believe. Like what happened? Like it really messes with you because you're like, I was working last time I knew, and now I can't even sit up. Like
you can barely walk.
So a funny story, like I wasn't sleeping because I was like, what is going on? Third day or fourth day. Like I have a, I was intubated, right? Like so I couldn't talk really well.
Yeah.
But so I'm lying in bed and I'm like, I'm gonna go pee. I gotta go pee, right? And I'm not thinking straight here, but I'm gonna go pee on my own, right? And I knew it, so I was like, they have that. What is that? Like the bar, like the handle. Yeah. So I grabbed that handle and I'm like pulling myself up and I'm shaking and I'm like starting to sweat because it's so hard. But I finally get sitting up in bed.
Yeah.
And I and I kind of swing my legs over the bed and I'm like the wall's right there. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like sit up, grab the wall, and I'm going to shimmy on the wall and go to the bathroom.
Did it work?
No. No, massive fail. I got the nerve. I stood up and I went back.
Yeah.
Head hit the concrete. Snapped me back up like this. I'm like, my gown is all twisted. Alarms are going off. And like blood is like pouring out of my head. I'm like doing like this to try not to get the blood on me. And it's like middle of the night. And I'm like, nurse. And I wasn't a good patient because I wasn't sleeping, so I was getting really frustrated. And I kept calling the nurses. So they're like, Harry, go to sleep. I'm like, no, I need your help. Go back to sleep. I'm like, seriously. She's like, where are you? On the floor. She's like, what? And she turns the light on and she screams.
Oh my God.
Because there was like a pool of blood around me now. Like your forehead bleeds a lot, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so she screams and all these nurses come flying in. They're like, what is going on? What happened? I'm like, I just tried to go pee, get up and go pee. She's like, you can't go pee. You have a catheter. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I got a sepsis story.
Yeah?
I actually tattooed my death tag on my foot from it.
Oh, really?
I wasn't flipped in the hospital, so I got bed sores on my coccyx. And it got so bad that I wasn't even myself anymore. I was home for a weekend visit at my parents' house. Thank God. I was put into a nursing home after the hospital because they couldn't take care of me.
Yeah.
Well, they don't take care of you very well either. No. And I didn't get rolled, and I had this massive bed sore, and I flatlined.
Really?
And thank God.
Yeah, crazy.
So I got that tattooed on me.
That's good. I'm going to have to get a tattoo.
I was going to say, I can take you to get
this
tattoo.
I might have to do
I
that.
got a couple tattoos. I'm a little bit of a fan. But holy shit. That's a wild.
Yeah. So I was like, so I'm lying in bed again. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be known as Harry. Like, I didn't want to be known as Harry got sick and this is Harry. Right?
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, what am I going to do here? How do I still want to be known as Harry, the baseball player, or something like. I didn't want to be Harry. Oh, Harry's sick. I didn't want that to define me. So I started going through all my baseball training, doing all my mental exercises, and I started lying there, picturing myself like healing itself. So and I know it's a little corny, but I just visualized like my cells, and like doing all this, and I pictured myself walking out of the hospital. So I was basically about 6 days later or something. They started doing physio, so I started grabbing balls, and I'm like talking to my physiotherapist, and I'm like, what do I have to do to get the hell out of here, right? Yeah. And he's like, oh, you've got a long way to go. I'm like, what do I have to do to get out? I just need to know. Yeah. And he's like, you need to walk up 2 flights of stairs by yourself.
Done.
I'm like, done. That's all I need to focus on, and that's all I did. every day I'd get up once I had the strength, I'd get up and I'd like if my bed was here, my chair was there, I'd get up out of bed and sit in my chair and I'd pass out.
Yeah.
Because I was exhausted. And then I'd get up and I'd go back to bed. And then I would just do that. And then I'd go to the bathroom door and then back to bed. Yeah. And then to the door and then down the hall as far as I could. It was just, I would just push. And day 12, I said, I'm ready. And he's like, I think you are. So I walked up 2 flights of stairs by myself and I said, get me the hell out of here.
You seem like a very determined
I am.
I like that about you.
Yeah. But yeah, they weren't ready to release me though.
No?
Doctor was like, yeah, you were the sickest patients I've had in like 30 years. I don't believe, I'm afraid to send you home so fast. But I'm like, I'm not on any drugs. I'm not getting treatment. I'm just taking he's like, I know, but you don't realize how sick you were. I'm like, get me the hell out of this hospital. Like, I'm going crazy. My feet were so bad. Like, everything was like they were peeling my feet off. Like so that was real painful, and I couldn't do a lot because of my feet. Yeah. But everything else was like, I was strong. I was ready. I wanted to go back to work, but my feet were really preventing me because they were literally peeling my right to the dermis to make them bleed again. Yeah. So that would create new growth. So that was my feet were the bad part, and they were bad. They're like basically you walked up Mount Everest in your bare feet. Yeah. Like that's how bad they were. Oh my God. I still have it. I have a toe that's like my reminder. It's kind of like I have no nail on it. It's all scar tissue. It gets sore every day. Like it can't expand. Nerve pain. Yeah, like it can't because it's all scarring from what they were doing. It doesn't expand, so it feels like somebody's squeezing my toe all the time, especially in the summer. But it's my reminder that things could have been worse. I can totally relate. With on the feet. I know. So I said because why I wanted to bring that up because I remember your last guest was in a coma. I'm like, you need to have like a coma card because I don't know. Yeah, no kid. Thank you to JP Contractors for providing this awesome studio space and believing in the podcast. Solid, reliable builders who do quality work and stand by it. Check them out at jpcontractors.ca. How far after is it that you become an international ball player? Okay, yeah. So I played 4 years in the minor leagues with the Jays. They released me after my 4th year, and then who I mentioned earlier, Greg Hamilton, was coaching in France. He was in France. So he was a coach on Team Ontario, and he tried to get me to go to Princeton because he was a graduate of Princeton. So he kind of helped the whole scholarship offers and stuff as well. And when he found out that Toronto released me, he asked me if I wanted to come to France and play because I had other independent baseball offers that I was kind of after 4 years of minor league baseball, I was kind of frustrated a little bit. They had just won 2 World Series. I had done a lot, I thought, to get moved up, and it was just one step at a time. Yeah. A lot of it helped. Being Canadian also hurt because, they only have so many work visas for the U.S., and so they would put me on the Canadian teams because they wouldn't have to burn a work visa. So no matter how good I did on that Canadian team, they couldn't put me up to an American team because they probably already had all the work visas taken care of. So I couldn't get promoted the same as as Americans. Yeah. And this is stuff you don't know until you're in it and you learn it. I was going to say, how hard is it? You were saying Canadian to American. Yeah. Is it still that way? I think it is, to be honest. There's less teams now. Yeah. They've cut solo, those short season teams are almost non-existent. Okay. So back in the day, in the 90s, the draft was unlimited. They would just pick until teams stop picking. Today they have, I think, 20 to 25 rounds, and that's it. Okay. Right? So there's half the kids taken. So the pool of being pro, it's much harder to become pro now than it was back then, in a sense. Okay. There's a lot more ball players, so I think it's all relative. But so there's a lot less teams. I think, we had, the Blue Jays, I think, had 9 teams back then. Average is now 5. Farm teams? Yeah. Now they have 5. And I think they only have 1 short season team, which was in Florida. And that's called they didn't even change the name to it. I think it's a complex team or something they call it. So you play in all their complexes, right? All right. And it's more of just a training thing because they moved the draft to July now. Yep. So you don't get drafted until middle of the season now. So they all report to this complex. Okay. They kind of work out, play some scrimmage games, and then they go to a fall thing. Just see it's changed quite a bit. That is wild. There's a lot less money. They're spending more money on the top 20. Yep. And not the less, and they're not blowing money on the lower ranks. Sucks. Makes sense. Yeah. So there's a lot more. So I had lots of opportunity to play independent ball, but because I was so frustrated, I was kind of I'm kind of done. Yeah. I still wanted to be a pilot, so I wanted to go to pilot. I wanted to get my pilot's license. But then Greg called and he was like, why don't you come to France and have some? And he was like, just have some fun. I'm like, that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to have fun playing baseball again. I studied a lot of art history in high school because I was an art student. So I was like, well, this would be an opportunity to see everything I read in a book and go to France, play baseball, and travel. So that's what I did, and it was fantastic.
How long did you stay in France?
I was there for 9 months.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I was in the south of France, right on the Riviera, like 25. God. Yeah, I was like, I was living La Vida Loca there. Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
So what happened after France then?
After France, I just decided that I'm going to hang it up. I'm going to go back. Came home,
Yep.
and I started getting my pilot's license.
So are you a pilot now?
Well, I'm not a pilot anymore. I got my pilot's license. I got my private license. Worked towards my commercial.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I had 100 dual and 100 PIC pilot and command time. So, but then I learned more about becoming a pilot, and it was just minor league baseball all over again. And I was like, I'm not doing that again.
It just seems like you keep knocking off these big dreams.
I know.
So
I was like,
cool.
but then I was like, now what?
They disappoint you.
I know, right? So then I was like, now what, right? Yeah, because like it was the whole thing about living out of a suitcase again, making no money. Once I got my commercial license, now you have to get hours, right?
Yeah.
So you have to get 1,500 hours, and then you can apply to a airline. And then to get that 1,500 hours, you basically go up north, live in a shack.
Yeah.
You make no money, and they treat you like garbage.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, minor leagues all over again.
And you're 25 at the time,
Yeah.
so you're really close to becoming a dad too, or you
Well,
are?
yeah. I was like, I just met my first wife,
Yeah.
my girlfriend at that time, and yeah. So I was kind of like, and I'd missed the birth of my nieces, and I missed a lot of family stuff, and so I was just figuring out like, is this something I really want to do again and start over, and I just decided, I want to be home. I still want to be home.
Yeah.
So that's when I got into construction.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and that changed my whole life. Right?
Yeah.
That was a different path.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when I hung up the cleats. Yeah.
Hung up the cleats and started wearing the coach's cap, or
close. Yeah. I started. I played for London. I started playing for London Majors shortly after that.
I was gonna say the London Majors came in somewhere around there.
Yeah, but I never got into it. Like, I was just kind of out there going through the motions.
Just showing up.
Yeah. And so then I wasn't as successful as I wanted to be, and I'm like, I'm not into this. And so I kind of retired. Yeah, and then I got married and had kids, and that changed everything. So then I became a coach. When my son was 6, he wanted to play baseball. It was like my dream came true. I got a son who wants to play baseball. Yeah. I didn't push him at all. Yeah. But he knew that I played, and I think that kind of
struck a little.
Yeah. So I started coaching when he was 6, and then that was 15 years of coaching minor ball and stuff.
And now here we are.
Yeah, full circle again.
Because you're my best friend.
Yeah.
I get to know a few things. How wild is it after a very short amount of time, the Barnstormers, that you guys went pro so quickly?
Yeah, it's,
quickly. I don't know baseball. I'm a hockey player, was a hockey player, but it seems like that moved rather quickly. Like you guys gained a lot.
It seems, it would, on the outside, it seems quick. Nothing happens in this league fast. Like there's been talk probably for a long time. And then when it did happen, it was kind of like everybody was tired of talking about it. So it did seem like it happened very fast, because at first I thought it wasn't going to pass. Like if you asked us in like August to vote on it, it probably wouldn't have passed. But then when we revisited it again in like the October in the off season, it seemed like all of a sudden there was a shift. And then it just passed. Yep. And then that meeting, I think we accomplished more in that meeting than we had in like 100 years in the league. Like it was just like vote, yes, vote. Like it was just vote, and we voted on all this stuff. Yeah, and it was like the most productive meeting we've had.
That's amazing.
In history.
So now that you're general manager, you're doing comparison to when you started and right out of high school, going into the minors. Yeah. What's it like? You doing this in comparison to that now, coachable, you know what it takes, you've been there. It
definitely helps.
Is it easier on the kids today, or is it harder to work with them?
Oh, it's a good question. Like it's, without getting kids are different.
Wildly.
Yeah. And you compare them to when we were kids, right?
Yep.
And I guess that's not fair, but kids are different. And but I'd never been a general manager before, so that was why I got involved. Dom had asked me to be the manager, and I wasn't very excited about it. I was excited to be with. I said, when he said he was buying an IBL team or starting an IBL team, I said, I'll be the water boy. I don't care what. I said, I want to be involved. Like I want to help build a team from scratch. Like I thought that would be awesome. From picking the uniforms, the colors, the name, everything we did for the year and a half. It was the best year and a half of my life.
Yeah.
Like, it was amazing. It was so much fun. But when he asked me to be the manager, it just didn't excite me that much, because I'd been a manager, and and it just, I don't know. I don't know why it didn't excite me. So I kind of was like, I don't know if I want. Like, so then, like a couple of days later, he called me. Well, do you want to be the general manager? I was like, well, that would be cool, right? So I got excited. So I was like, yes, that's the job I want.
Yeah.
And I had never done it. That excites when I'm doing something new. It really excites me.
Yeah,
it's my ADHD or whatever it is. But you know, I love new challenges.
I'm there with you.
Yeah, like I love it, and then I get bored of it, right? But I like the new challenges. Like this is why I'm doing something new now, right?
Yeah.
So that really excited me, and I love doing it.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I'm still only in my third year of doing it.
Yeah.
So it's the hard part is like getting the relationships, building relationships with other teams, right, and other GMs so that they know where I am. And if they have a player, you know, so that takes time for sure. And I'm still working on those relationships. And not having those relationships, I lose a lot to other teams that have Welland and London have been doing this a long time, right? Or Hamilton, and so they get the pick of the litter a little ahead of me, right? And so I'm trying to weasel my way in there. Yeah. So that takes time. So I think we spend more time on finding those diamonds in the rough. You know, a good example is like Spencer Marcus.
I hear a lot about Spencer Marcus.
Right. Like we do this local tryout in Chatham that we're like, okay, this is just going to be a publicity thing. Yeah. We're probably not going to find anything, but you never know. And then you're like, who's that?
That's what I've heard. Everybody talks. So
we're like, what the? Like, who is this kid? And why isn't he playing pro? Like, why? You know, so, yeah, things like that happen, right?
Amazing.
So those are the guys that were like Sadler Goodwin, like best short, like slickest, smoothest glove in the league.
Yep.
You know, why isn't he playing with some? You know, like, you know, so those are the guys that. So we're spending a lot more time trying to find those guys because the other, like, we're all fighting over the same 12 to 15 Canadians, right?
Yep.
Because we all want the Canadians because we have 28-man roster. We have 20 Canadians we need to put in the team, and there's only 15 really good, you know, coast to coast. So we're all after the same 15 guys, right? So we really have to find those guys. Like when I was in Toronto, they had this Epi Guerrero, Dominican, one of the most famous scouts in history, especially in the Americas, like South America. And, you know, he's famous for like riding on a donkey up a mountain because he heard about this kid that's, you know, throwing rocks at, like, you know, so that's the kind of thing he did. Like he would just go and travel and find those guys, and he was famous for it. Like he signed amazing. Like 27, some crazy number of major leaguers, right?
That's wild.
Yeah, because he would get on a donkey and head into the jungle, and because he heard about this guy, and that's kind of what we're not getting on any donkeys. But we're trying to find the guys that know. You know, we love Japan. I love the Japanese guys.
I live in that house with the boys we're living. And I friggin' love those boys.
Yeah.
You know, I'd go over there. They're just the sweetest.
Yeah. You know, and that's the kind of people we're trying to bring to Chatham. We're you know, like, yes, it's great to bring in the stars and stuff, but sometimes with those guys comes the egos, and they don't meld real well in the clubhouse. And, you know, we've had success right off the bat. And I think it's because we're focusing on, you know, good people and trying to bring 28 guys. Like we've had great clubhouses for 2 years now. Like it's one of the one thing the guys are saying is like, we love playing here because they all get along. Yep. And a team that gets along will play well together. Yeah. If there's a lot of infighting.
I was going to say, it's the chemistry of all of everybody, right from management down to the water boy.
Right. You know, I could go out and get some major league names and stuff. It's, you know, and it looks great on paper.
It causes an arrogance.
Like some of those guys have some ego, right? Like one thing they're playing, you know, they've dropped way down.
Yeah.
So they got a bit of a chip sometimes.
A little bit of spite.
I'm not saying they're all like that, but I mean, I would rather get the guys that, you know, are trying to go the other direction, that really have a drive to. And a lot of these Japanese guys are fantastic people. They've been brought up properly, and it's a little bit of an untapped market. You know, it's a little more expensive because the flights and stuff. Yeah, I think it's an untapped market, and they have a lot of drive, you know, so I think it's been successful.
Cool. The back catcher there.
Yeah, Fukuda.
He cracks me up, man. He's all around town.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Oda's coming back this year. He's awesome. He's one of my favorite people.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do, is just trying to find new markets that people aren't really tapping.
Yeah, I just imagine that would be the most fun of it all, traveling to see it. Yeah. So I noticed that you started a new business over the holidays.
Yeah, because I wasn't busy enough.
So do you use that for the Barnstormers? Do you get an eye on people? The Cage, right?
You know what? So it's called the Cage. It's London's newest indoor baseball facility. It's been a project of mine now for probably 8 years. I tried to do it in the same location, ironically, with where I am now, but it was more of a partnership thing between me and the landlord. That kind of fell apart after about 3 months of planning. Got really frustrated with that because I spent a lot of time, and I thought like we were going to do it.
Yep.
So I got a bit of frustrated that, and then I let it go, and then COVID came, so I was like, oh, phew. You know, kind of got through that without being in the business. And then, this year, so I'm coaching with Fanshawe as well. I'm a pitching coach with Fanshawe College. So that gives me a lot of insight. I see all the 20, 18 to 22-year-old kids. Yep. That's good. Like, we're signing a couple guys because of that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
So I love doing that, and I'm pitching coach there, which is something that I've always loved to do.
Because you don't have enough baseball in your life.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. Never have enough. So this has been an ongoing project. And so in September, I was like, I think it's good timing again for me, like better timing.
Yeah.
I'm involved with Fanshawe. I'm involved with CK. I've kind of got my name out there again. People know who I am again. I was kind of quiet for a little while. So I thought the timing was right. So I started looking again. Yep. And then, I found this. I was kind of getting frustrated because I wanted something in the Northwest where I live. Yep. Which is a newer area, and there's nothing old and dumpy that you can rent for cheap. So it was very expensive. So this isn't financially going to work. Yeah. So I was getting a little bit frustrated again that something came up, and there was a cricket place that was existing that was for sale in the building that I was going to do it before. So I'm like, okay, this is weird.
Signs on signs.
Yeah. So I hadn't told my wife yet. So I went to look at it, and I'm like, okay, this is like turnkey. They had 5 tunnels, but they were skinnier because of cricket, because they don't swing like baseball. So I'm like, okay, I got to do a little bit of work, but I mean, the turf is down, the netting's up. Yeah. I'm like, I can have this going by January instead of, I was thinking September. And this is the busy season, so I'm like, if I could do this, I could get, with a lot of work in a month, I could get this going by January and hit the busy season. Yep. So then I told my wife what I wanted to do, and she's like, what? Where did this come from? I'm like, well, I've had a realtor for about 4 months. So that was a fun conversation. But she's my biggest supporter, and we talked about it. She came and looked at it, and she saw the vision quickly as well. Yeah, so without her, obviously, if I didn't have her blessing, I wouldn't have done it. But she gave me the blessing, and we took possession December 18th, and we opened January 3rd. So it was a bit of
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's exciting.
That is really cool.
With that, kind of, I've got that going. I've got the Barnstormers, got Fanshawe baseball. So this is my first year of doing full-time baseball. So only took 30 extra years, but
30 extra years. Closing out, what can we say about the Barnstormers for this year? What do we got to look forward to?
You're going to see some new faces, unfortunately. Yeah, guys come, they've been here for two years. Life starts to get in the way a bit. Yep. So there's some guys retiring. I'm not going to mention it now because we haven't done anything. But some faces that some disappointments for sure that I thought guys would stay another year or two, maybe even like our mainstay guys, because they're two local guys have retired. So that was a big hit. So some big shoes to fill. So we're gonna have to bring in some new faces. So I think the biggest change, yes, we're pro, but outside of operations, you won't see. You're not going to see much difference. Yeah. Right? We are doing the All-Star game this year, which is going to be totally epic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be we've gone from one day, the 16-hour All-Star hour day game, to 2 nights.
I was going to say it's a weekend thing.
Yeah, so we're doing a Saturday night home run contest. Yeah. We're going to have VIP. We're hoping to bring in some VIPs, like some ex-major leaguers. We're having a VIP dinner. We're going to do a Sunday ball. So it's not going to be this huge one-day event where you have to be there from noon till. So we're going to do it up big. So it's amazing. The first one that's pro. So we want to make it and it's in CKA, which is awesome.
It is so amazing.
Yeah, so that's going to be the big thing. We're spending a lot of time and a lot of effort on that. So we're hoping that everybody comes out to that.
100%.
And makes it. We're going to close down the street. We got big plans.
That's
cool.
Amazing.
So that's the biggest thing. But on the field, you're going to see some new faces, unfortunately. And hopefully we're competitive again. But either way, it's going to be a great product. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, great. Harry.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it was a great chat.
Thank you.